Harsh. I'm part of the investment strategy team, and today we're going to talk about hybrid investing strategy. Can someone just confirm on the chat box if they can see my screen? Wonderful. Thank you so much, Rajanji. Thank you so much, Sanjeevji. Welcome to the call. So today, as we discuss, मार्केट अभी 15 से 16% नीचे आ गया है एंड यहाँ पे बहुत सारे इन्वेस्टर्स को एंड कुछ पार्टनर्स को भी एक डाउट आ रहा है कि मार्केट और नीचे जाएगा या नहीं नीचे जाएगा. तो ऐसे अनसर्टेन टाइम्स में हाइब्रिड फंड्स आर अ वंडरफुल स्ट्रक्चर्ड प्रोडक्ट वेयर यू कैन एक्चुअली इंश्योर बेस्ट ऑफ बोथ वर्ल्ड्स. यदि मार्केट ऊपर जाता है तो आपको रैली भी मिलेगी और यदि मार्केट नीचे जाता है तो आपको इसमें डाउनसाइड प्रोटेक्शन मिलेगा. नाउ this is one of the very important data where you can see ये इंडिया में जो सारे म्यूचुअल फंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स है, इंडिविजुअल म्यूचुअल फंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स, उनका एयूएम मिक्स है, राइट. तो यहाँ पे हम देख सकते हैं जो टॉप 100 म्यूचुअल फंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स हैं, इनका इक्विटी में, प्योर इक्विटी स्कीम्स में एलोकेशन इज ओनली 56%. And as you see, the next 100 to 500, unka equity, net equity allocation is to 63%. Then it goes to 66, and finally it goes to 72%. So ये data से क्या समझ आता है कि the most successful distributors in the country have their asset mix which is very well diversified across all asset classes. And this is the key takeaway, that if we have to be a successful distributor, this might be a good strategy to diversify our assets, considering investor will also be happy during uncertain times and our growth will also happen. And how growth happens, that we will see in the coming slides. So now we'll look at the various different hybrid fund categories available in the mutual fund industry today. First off, we'll start off with hybrid with arbitrage fund. As we all know, arbitrage fund is a very minimal risk category. The net equity, as we've highlighted, is 0% in this yellow box. And so on an average, arbitrage will be anywhere between 65 to 70%, and debt is 25 to 30%. अभी क्यों debt 25 to 30% रहता है इसमें? क्योंकि आर्बिट्राज में एग्जिट लोड रहता है, 1 महीने का एग्जिट लोड रहता है. इट हैज अ एग्जिट लोड 1 month. So but lot of people keep removing money even within that 1 month in case they want to have liquidity. So the debt component is 25 to 30% for that. And arbitrage, as we all know, they participate in cash and futures market at the same time. So if there is no price difference available in cash and futures at the same time, they will not execute that trade. So that is the reason it is a zero net equity, and maximum is in arbitrage, and a minor portion is in debt to manage the liquidity for the continuous withdrawal requests, right? Second, conservative hybrid fund. Conservative hybrid fund, I'm sure a lot of partners will already be knowing. It will have majority portion 75 to 80% between debt, because it's a conservative fund, and 20 to 25% will be in equity, average net equity. So the debt, as per regulatory limit, you can have arbitrage between 10 to 25%, and net equity is 20 to 25% on an average, right? एंड सो बट इसमें और कोई भी एसेट क्लास नहीं होता है, केवल आपका इक्विटी रहता है और डेट रहता है. सो द रिस्क इज वेरी मिनिमल. एंड वन मोमेंट. Great, great. Yeah. So this is it's a legacy fund. The total industry AUM today is it's very low. Actually, it's hardly 28,000 crore compared to arbitrage, which is about 2 lakh crores. Right. The reason for that is इसमें जो return आता है, we all know illustrative pre-tax return in this will be 8%. So post-tax it will be lower, 7%, 6%, or even 5%, 5.5% based on the tax slab of the investor. That's why a lot of investors don't prefer this, because इसमें उनका जो return expectation है वो justify नहीं हो पाता है more often than not. Third category is equity savings fund. In equity savings fund, it's slightly more riskier than conservative hybrid fund. Here, all three, which is equity, net equity, arbitrage, and debt, all three are on an average one third, one third, one third, right? So इसमें यहाँ पे हमने highlight कर रखा है net equity is 35 to 40% and debt is again 30 to 35 and arbitrage again 30 to 35. तो इसमें क्या है आपका 65% of the portfolio on an average मोटा मोटी आपका it is safeguarded because it is in debt and arbitrage. And that is why if you see the returns also will be in a similar range. It delivers slightly better than conservative hybrid fund on an average 8.5%, sometimes 9%. And we will see that when we come to the returns also. So this is a product for someone who wants better tax adjusted return, because considering arbitrage and net equity, the taxation will be in equity taxation. So even for a 30% tax bracket investor, he will be able to get 7.4% if we assume a 8.5% return on this product. Now, fourth category, I'm sure this is a very popular category. It has about 3 lakh crores of AUM in the industry, which is BAF. So in BAF, as we all know, net equity can range anywhere between 0 to 100 as per regulatory limit. But on a practical scenario, net equity is anywhere between 40 to 70% in 70 to 80% of the instances, right? And arbitrage is remaining, whatever is the net equity call, remaining out of 65 minus the net equity, that will be their arbitrage on an average. And remaining 30 to 50% can be in debt. So this actually is the only product which does extremely dynamic asset allocation. In one of the slides, we'll be seeing how the dynamic asset allocation works and how, based on different market conditions, it has changed over last 10, 15, 20 years, right? Now, the most popular category in the last 2 years is multi-asset fund. Multi-asset fund, as we all know, is the only category as per SEBI's classification, which allows asset class diversification, right? Now, how does it do that? It gives you regulatory limit is you can invest at least 10% in any asset class, but it should be minimum of 3 different asset classes, right? So based on that, on an average in the industry, the net equity over here is more than BAF. So that is why we tell investors that you should come for at least 3 years, if not more, in this product, because the net equity, as per the research, it is on an average 55 to 65% on an average, which is higher than BAF, right? But having said that, it has debt, which is 10 to 20%, and again, commodity, which is again 10 to 20%. So it can be gold, silver, and 2 to 3% is also retail invests, but that 2 to 3% hardly, has an influence on the overall portfolio return. So we can look at that 10 to 20%, which is highlighted over here as commodity only. And in fact, even within this 10 to 20%, 80 to 90% will be gold only, right? And we all know that in last out of 6 calendar years, gold has bet Nifty 4 out of 6 calendar years. Last calendar year, Nifty's return, we all know, and gold's return was 42% when Nifty was in single digit return, right? The final category is aggressive hybrid fund, where it's one of the, in fact, it is the oldest hybrid fund category, and it also has a very significantly high AUM of 2.2 lakh crore. Now, a good thing to notice is that, see, BAF is 2.85 lakh crore and aggressive hybrid is 2.2 lakh crore. Now, a couple of years ago, aggressive hybrid fund used to be the highest in the category. Now it has shifted to BAF. Why? That we'll see when we come look at the returns, right? So in aggressive hybrid fund, what happens is that the net equity allocation at all times is between 70 to 75%. So यदि market ऊपर जाएगा या नीचे जाएगा, or even if the industry fund manager has a view that the market is a little expensive, he will not have the flexibility to reduce the net equity below 65%. Because the regulatory gross equity is 65%. And यहाँ पे they don't do arbitrage, unlike BAF and MAF. So that is also one of the reasons aggressive hybrid fund has become a slightly legacy fund. It is still a good fund for someone who wants 20-25% debt allocation, but for someone who is slightly more moderate in terms of risk appetite and wants more predictable cash flows via SWP, then BAF and MAF would be a better offering. So for this purpose, we will be in our presentation, we'll be focusing on the three main equity categories, which is equity savings fund, BAF and MAF. Now, before we go to the into the presentation itself, I will do a small second. We'll do a small quiz. Can anyone guess what is the last 3-year Nifty returns in the chat box? Like, what is the compound annual growth rate of Nifty in last 3 years? As subah morning hai, so we'll just get everyone's we'll just get everyone active. Once again, I the chat box. 12% Minaji, thank you so much. Avinash ji, 7%, 12.5% Pratik ji. Okay, great. 25% approximately ji. So 10 to 11%. I think I'm an NAV. I think I'm assuming Naveen ji. So I think the correct answer is Naveen ji, 10 to 11%. One second. Yes. So the CAGR is 10.25%, and as we all can see, 2022 Nifty gave 4.4%, 2023 it gave 18%, 2024 it gave 8.2%. So as Naveen rightly pointed out, CAGR is 10.25%. Even in a market like the current market where everyone is guessing 10%, 12%, 20%. So ये एक धारणा बन जाती है, एक perception बन जाता है when market is just one way. So of course, last 6 months is one of the rare occurrences where market has gone down. But if you see the extent of the correction is not, it's not a very big correction. We had Mr. Nilesh Shah on our, last weekly meeting, and he also mentioned this fact. So he, sir, has been in the industry for 40 years. He mentioned, Harsh, कि ये 15% is not even a correction as per me, right? जो 30%, 35% होता है वो होता है करेक्शन. 15% तो it's just a drawdown actually, which is very common. So now this data we wanted to highlight before we set the context for the hybrid funds, right? Yes. So now we'll look at the various returns across different hybrid products. Equity savings, if you see, इसमें 1 year return में 5%, BAF is 2%, multi-asset is 5.5%, and Nifty, this is the return to be seen. So Nifty is minus 0.2, Nifty 500 is minus 1.5, and this is latest data as per yesterday, right? So 3-year return, 5-year return, if you see, Nifty is 12%, and 5-year 15%, 10-year is 10%, and Nifty 500 is on an average 2% or 1.5% more than Nifty 50 at all given points of time. This is how it works usually in the industry, for the simple reason that Nifty 500 will have small and mid cap. But what we need to notice over here is that a multi-asset allocation fund, it is almost delivering, in fact, it is beating Nifty in all time frames, multi-asset allocation. And it is about hardly 1% less than Nifty 500 with 40% less equity allocation. So this is the key takeaway, in terms of the return comparison there, that it is not, we all have this misconception that risk and return are a linear correlation. That is not how it always works. Risk and return have a linear correlation, but up to a certain point. After that point, risk and return are not directly correlated to each other. So now the question comes, how do we, how much to give, how much hybrid funds to give out of 100 rupees of a portfolio, how much to give? So we've done some analysis on that as well. So yes, this is one of the strategies which we've looked at. So let's say if someone wants a Nifty 50, like a large cap allocation, and you compare that with BAF and MAF, right? So if you do 75% allocation into Nifty 50 and 25% into BAF and MAF, how does your return pan out? So over 1 year, it is beating Nifty. In fact, over 3 years, it is equaling Nifty 50, and 5 years also, it is almost equaling Nifty 50, including 10 years. So see, you see 25% in pure hybrid funds and 75% in Nifty 50, and it is equaling Nifty. And मजे की बात ये है, यदि if you reduce it to even 50-50 allocation, like Nifty 50 50% and BAF and MAF 50%, even then it is equaling Nifty 50, hardly 0.2 0.3% difference across 1 3 5 10 years. So this is the beauty of a portfolio where you have pure equity funds and hybrid funds. Now we'll go to the next slide for the second strategy. I think all of us love mid and small cap funds over here. So for our investors, will also be giving that. So let's see if we have a multi-cap portfolio, which is a good benchmark for multi-cap portfolio is Nifty 500 as per the industry standard benchmark, right? So let's say if someone invests 75% in Nifty 500 and remaining 25% in BAF and MAF, right? Even then, we can see over here, the hybrid portfolio is able to equal Nifty 500 portfolio in most of the time frames, except the 5-year time frame where this is 17.7, this is 16.9, so almost 0.7, 0.8% difference, and in 10-year it is hardly 0.5% difference. And even if we reduce this to 50-50, then the difference will be slightly higher. It will be a difference of 1.5%. But यहाँ पे आप देखिए 50% हमने यहाँ पे कम कर दिया allocation pure equity का. So on an average, BAF and MAF, we can assume 60% net equity allocation from what we saw in the previous slide. So 50 rupees में 60% net equity मतलब मोटा मोटी आपका 30 rupees. So आपका equity portion is down to 75 to 80% of the portfolio, but you are still getting that return. And most importantly, during these turbulent times like current times, you look at this 1-year return, जहाँ पे आपका Nifty is -0.2 and Nifty 500 is -1.5. So of course 75-25 is also giving similar return, but 50-50 is giving 1.2% return. But if you go to the previous slide, here both the portfolios are giving positive returns because ये Nifty 50 में which is fallen less than mid and small caps. So this is one of the strategies which if a partner wants to reduce the risk for the investor as well as for his own AUM, as we saw for the top 100 partners in the industry, they have less net equity allocation and more towards different asset classes purely because of risk return and nothing else. तो ये देख सकते हैं हम इसमें रिटर्न भी 1-1.5% का फर्क आया है over 5 and 10-year period, and this is purely because of the correlation between debt, equity, and other asset classes like gold and REITs. Now, this is my favorite slide in the entire presentation because this always amazes me कि आपने देखा हमने net equity allocation कितना reduce किया. Even if we are doing 50-50 allocation in Nifty 500 and 50% in hybrid, 60% तो आपका है. तो net equity of the overall portfolio is what? It is 80%. यहाँ पे आप देखिए Nifty 500 fell 37% in COVID, equity savings fell 18%, BAF and MAF fell 26%. मतलब alpha of close to 10% during market fall during COVID. But इसके पहले यदि हम देखते हैं जो previous fall से where market fell by more than 15-16%, in August 2018 market fell 15-16%, equity savings fell 1.2, BAF and MAF fell 4%. And same story in 2016 and 2015. Both these funds fell much lower than Nifty 500. So this is so इसमें कोई मैजिक नहीं है, it's just asset allocation. क्योंकि आपका 100 रुपीज में आपका 55 रुपीज ऑन एवरेज नेट इक्विटी में है, रिमेनिंग आपका डेट एंड आर्बिट्राज में या गोल्ड में है, इसीलिए आपका पोर्टफोलियो प्रोटेक्ट हो रहा है ड्यूरिंग द मार्केट डाउनसाइड्स. Now let's try to understand how the different 3 strategies which we spoke about in the second slide differ from each other. So as I already mentioned, equity savings fund generally invests 1/3 in net equity, arbitrage and debt, and it will fall under equity taxation. So there is no dynamic asset allocation. In fact, month on month also, the net equity percentage won't change drastically. it will be hardly between anywhere between, let's say, 2% to 5 or maximum 6-7%. They change on a month-on-month basis. So it's very, I mean, I wouldn't say static allocation, but static with slight room for flexibility. Balance Advantage funds is the most dynamic fund in the industry, where we already saw the net equity changes between 40 to 70% with equity taxation. 99% of the funds will have equity taxation, and uh, how they change their equity, that depends on the market cycle. So almost all the funds in the industry except one follow a a counter cyclical model, where they reduce their net equity allocation whenever market goes up, and whenever market goes down, they increase the net equity allocation. So what is the logic of this counter cyclical approach? See, अभी जैसे अभी market नीचे गया है, तो the logic is that the valuations have gone down, assuming the earnings have remained stable, right? So because the markets have gone down, equities become more attractive, है ना? तो इसीलिए they will increase their net equity allocation. So almost all the BAFs in the industry follow counter cyclical. Now there is one BAF in the industry which is Edelweiss, which follows a pro cyclical model as of now. So what they do, whenever market goes up, they increase their net equity, and whenever market goes down, they reduce that. So this is the only AMC which is following pro-cyclical. But let me be when we look at the returns, you'll have a see in terms of the medium to long term horizon, returns are same in both the approaches. Returns में कुछ ज़्यादा अंतर नहीं है. Um, the difference between the returns is because of the stock selection, not because of the approach, that we will see when we come to the slide on the different schemes. And third and the final category which we are focusing in today's presentation is MAF. So MAF, every AMC has a very, very unique approach, but on an average, 80 to 90% of the AMCs follow net equity of 50 to 60% and remaining in debt, gold, and REITs. Some also have foreign equity shares like Bandhan, but that is very few. And we all know, because of the regulatory limit of $7 billion for investment in foreign stocks, most of the AMCs are not able to deploy in foreign stocks, so that is not being done. So it's mostly domestic equity, arbitrage, debt, gold, and some amount in REITs and InvITs. There are some new maps in the industry, which is Edelweiss and White Oak, which we would like to highlight, where they actually maintain. See, in fact, Edelweiss maintains 0% net equity, and White Oak maintains 30 to 35% net equity and remaining 65% in debt, gold, and REITs. So White Oak is slightly more conservative than the traditional maps, and they have outperformed in the recent times. We'll look at it when we come to the returns. Edelweiss it's more of a debt math, because it has 0% net equity, and everything is either in debt and or commodities. So the return expectations will also be in single digits. So we're not sure whether it will appeal to investors or not. But White Oak, they are able to do a pretty good job in the last 1.5 years of their inception history. Yeah, now coming to the asset allocation between all the three categories which we are discussing, as we already had a look, equity savings net equity 35 to 40%, debt will be 30 to 45%, 30 to 35, and nothing in commodity. BAF will have 40 to 70% in equity, debt will be 30 to 60%. Multi-asset 60 to 65, 70% will be net equity, and the current average is for 50 to 60%. So this is again one point to be noted. So here, if we can see, multi-asset on an average 60 to 65%, but current 6-month average is 50 to 60%. Now, why is this like this? Because as I already mentioned in the start of the meeting, gold has delivered 42% in last 1 year, and it has bet Nifty in last 6 years. And kya ho raha hai? Most of the central bankers, right, they are increasing their gold reserves by selling dollars. अभी क्या हुआ, when Russia and Ukraine went into a war, US actually froze Russia's dollar assets because they had access to. तो रशिया ने भरोसा किया कि डॉलर इज अ रिजर्व करेंसी, एंड उन्होंने अपना जो सेविंग्स है वो डॉलर बॉन्ड्स में रखा. पर यूएस, सिंस यूएस वाज अगेंस्ट रशिया गोइंग इनटू अ वॉर, दे मिसयूज दैट पावर एंड रशिया का जो डॉलर एसेट्स है उसको फ्रीज कर दिया. तो उसके बाद से क्या हो गया पिछले 3 सालों में, मोस्ट ऑफ द कंट्रीज इंक्लूडिंग चाइना, India, a lot of European countries also, they've started actually increasing their gold reserves. And that is one of the reasons that gold has rallied in the last 3-4 years, and it is expected to rally more because of the ongoing global uncertainty. So that is why, see, if you in multi-asset, although the 6-month average is 60-65% on an average in the long term, but abhi ka jo 6-month average is, it is between 50 to 60%, because a lot of them have 12, 13, 14% in commodities, which is gold, and some amount in silver also, but very few AMCs have that. And debt is again 10, 20%, and commodities we already discussed. So this is again a beautiful slide where you can see how the asset allocation between net equity and debt changes over different time frames. So here we have taken, why we have taken these two schemes, they are the two oldest schemes in the industry, and they have different opposite approaches. So ICICI, as we already spoke, it has a counter cyclical approach. We can see over here, they since March 2010, since the data is available, see, so blue line is Nifty 50, red line is the net equity allocation. So you can see in this 2016 period, when the blue line, which is Nifty 50, went down. It is clearly a bottom, right? Here, net equity was increased drastically from 34, 35, 40% a few months ago to 74%. And now again in COVID, when Nifty went down, again this net equity shot up to 70, 71%. Now, when the valuations had gone little expensive, they started reducing the net equity to 32%. So we all saw last week Mr. Naren had come on one of the conferences, and he mentioned that he feels market is still expensive, especially for small and mid caps. But even on an overall level, he felt market is very expensive. So he is still maintaining a net equity allocation which is lower than the average. So he still maintains in mid 30s, and Nifty is still up. So this clearly shows a counter cyclical approach. Now, when it comes to Edelweiss, it is exactly opposite. यहाँ पे हम देख सकते हैं, see in 2020, when market went down, this is the bottom. A red line is basically net equity again for Edelweiss. This also bottomed out. So it's clearly mimicking the Nifty 50 levels. The momentum, but that is not the right word, but I'm just using that to explain how they do that, right? And we can see it is very much aligned with the Nifty levels. यहाँ पे देखिए कितना clear divergence है, and यहाँ पे कितना clear convergence है. So this explains how iPro and Edelweiss differ in their various approaches, but returns are same. Okay, on a medium to long term horizon, it will be same. We'll see that. So this is a return slides. So you see over here, 1 year mein Edelweiss is 2% and iPro is 5%. Reason is because market has gone down. तो Edelweiss ने क्या किया रहेगा, उसने जब मार्केट नीचे गया है तो उसने भी रिड्यूस किया रहेगा. पर iPro ने थोड़ा सा इम्प्रूव किया नेट इक्विटी, बट ही हैड मोर इन आर्बिट्राज आल्सो. So iPro has able to it has bet Edelweiss in last 1 year because market has gone on. लेकिन जब मार्केट ऊपर जाता है ना, तब Edelweiss will be outperforming iPro because it will keep on increasing the net equity as market goes up. So that is the key to learn over here, that this approach helps. But to be honest, we don't have to communicate these approaches to the investor. This is for our self consumption, for our self analysis. But if you look at the 3 and 5 year return, that's hardly 1.5% difference. Edelweiss will be 13% and iPro will be 12.9. So hardly 0.5% difference. So approach आप कोई भी ले लो, लेकिन आपका medium to long term will be more or less similar. So 5-year return, we can see, so Tata also follows a counter-cyclical approach. Remaining funds don't have a 5-year history. So all these funds have delivered at least 12% returns in the last 5 years. But having said this, we should not look at 5 years as a benchmark, because now markets, we all know last 5 years, it has been a more of a one-way rally if we just discount for the last 6 months. So we should expect a 10.5% return in BAF, because आपका average net equity is anywhere between 40 to 50-60%. So उसमें 10% is what should be the return expectation we should be having from the product. And for the next one, which is MAF, which we are focusing on. Here you can see, clearly all the maps have bet BAF. Look at the 1 year return 8, 6, 9, 6. क्यों? क्योंकि इसमें हार्डली जो हेज है 10 to 12-14% का जो गोल्ड, वो जो 10 रुपया है पोर्टफोलियो में है, वो 40 रुपया हो गया एक साल के अंतराल में. 10 is gone to 40. So that itself has taken the portfolio up. So that is why gold is always known as a hedge. बट हैविंग सेड दैट, अभी इन्वेस्टर्स बोलेंगे या पार्टनर्स को भी ये क्वेरी आई कि हम क्यों गोल्ड को एक स्टैंड अलोन गोल्ड फंड क्यों नहीं ले रहे हैं. अब स्टैंड अलोन गोल्ड फंड में क्या होता है, there have been periods between 2012 to 15, 2002 to 5 where gold has given stagnant returns. Gold will not go down drastically most of the times like equity, but it will give stagnant returns for some years. तो यदि अभी आपके इन्वेस्टर के पोर्टफोलियो में 10 स्कीम्स हैं, इसमें से एक गोल्ड है, 9 स्कीम्स ने अच्छा परफॉर्म किया, उसकी जो he will come and get stuck at that 10th scheme where gold is not giving return during the stagnant time frame. So I'm not talking about current times. Current times gold is expected to go up, but we are talking of a all-weather strategy. तो यदि आप खाली गोल्ड का एक स्कीम लेते हैं और अगर वो स्टैग्नेंट में चले जाता है रिटर्न, तो वो हमारे पार्टनर के वो परफॉर्मेंस को इवैल्यूएट करेगा कि आपने मुझे तो बोला था गोल्ड, मैं इक्विटी में डाल देता. लेकिन यदि हम मल्टी एसेट फंड में डालते हैं गोल्ड का एलोकेशन, हमको वही 10% 100 रुपया में से मिल रहा है, लेकिन अब इन्वेस्टर को थोड़ी ना पता है कि हर महीने कितना गोल्ड है. तो whether that 10, 11, 12% is coming from gold or equity, investor is hardly bothered about that. Investor wants his funds to grow. तो इसमें यदि even if gold doesn't perform for a few months or few quarters or even few years, he won't blame us for that. So, and also it is better to leave that timing of gold to the fund manager itself, because he is much more knowledgeable. He has a team of 30, 40, 50 research analysts. He has much more data to do that asset allocation than we can do it individually. So looking at the 3 and 5 year returns, multi-assets have performed, as you also saw in the first slide, similar to Nifty 500, and it has in fact bet Nifty 50 for the simple reason, gold, nothing else. There's no other logic. It's not stock selection or anything else. We can say stock selection can be maybe for ICICI, क्योंकि इसमें this is an outlier which is 21%, बाकी सबने 14% दिया, तो यहाँ पे stock selection बोल सकते हैं. But mostly it is asset allocation and gold. That is the main difference. Let's look at an SWP for a BAF. क्योंकि a lot of investors who are moderate risk profile or someone who's retired, they look for regular income. So what should be the return expectation setting? As you already mentioned, it should be 10%. So this is asset plus calculator. You can access it from your partner dashboard. We've assumed a principal investment of 1 crore over 10 years. So 1 crore over here, 10-year investment. And we are assumed every like return. So every में अभी क्या दे रहा है 7.7% So 7.2% we have assumed return of 10%. So we can see even after a period of 10 years, portfolio of 1 crore has grown to 1.47 crore in spite of a constant withdrawal of 60,000 per month, which works out to 7.2 lakhs per year and 72 lakhs over a 10-year horizon. तो मतलब 1.47 crore हमने withdraw कर लिया है and another 72 lakhs we have withdrawn. Sorry, final 1.4 crores is already there, 72 lakhs we have withdrawn. So on an average 2.2 crores we have total 1 crore ka over 10 years. And MAF we can assume slightly more return, which is 11%. Although 5 year हमने देखा 14% है. अगर आप 10 ईयर देखेंगे रिटर्न, तो हमने अभी हमारा रेडी रेकनर रिलीज किया. इट इज अवेलेबल ऑन द पार्टनर डैशबोर्ड. इट क्लियरली सेज इवन मैफ डिलीवर्स 10-11%, 12% ओनली ऑन अ लॉन्ग टर्म 10 ईयर basis. So इसमें 1 crore has become 1.7 crores because of the assumed rate of return of 11%. And यहाँ भी आप देखेंगे तो withdrawal is same, because withdrawal you can fix. That is up to the investor and the partner. how much they want it, but we will recommend 7 to 7.5% is a decent one, because if you start withdrawing more, then you're not letting anything for the compounding. तो यदि compound का 11% में है और हम withdraw करा 7% में, तो 4% is still there for that 4 rupees to keep compounding over the investment period of 10 years. But यदि हम 8, 9, 10% withdraw कर लेते तो compounding के लिए कुछ बचेगा ही नहीं. It will take away the beauty of the compounding. For the final slide, we look at the tax comparison. So India में मैं हर बार ये बोलता हूँ कि मुझे करीबन 12 साल हो गया इंडस्ट्री में. I was earlier working with Citibank. I worked with Kotak Wealth, IIFL Wealth, and SBI. So जब भी रिटर्न की बात आती है, तो चाहे इन्वेस्टर के 10 करोड़ पोर्टफोलियो में उसका 3 करोड़ भी प्रॉफिट हो गया, वो फोन करके कभी थैंक यू नहीं बोलेगा मुझे. लेकिन अगर उसका, मैंने बोला कि सर आप अभी ये फंड बेच दो, आपको शायद टैक्स में आपका ये बेनिफिट मिलेगा, 1,000 रुपए के बेनिफिट लिए वो मुझे 2 बार फोन करके बोलेगा. वो 2 साल बाद भी आता था, सर आपने मैंने 1,000 रुपया टैक्स बचाया था. एंड दिस आई हैव सीन दिस इन माय पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस, सो आई एम स्पीकिंग फ्रॉम दैट. यहाँ पे आप देखेंगे हमने अज्यूम किया है एक एचएनआई इन्वेस्टर को, क्योंकि टैक्स सेविंग तो वही कर सकता है जो ज्यादा टैक्स भरता है. अब जो 10-15% टैक्स भरता है, वो तो कितना ही टैक्स बचाएगा. एंड थैंक्स टू आवर फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर, एनीवेज फ्रॉम द नेक्स्ट फाइनेंशियल ईयर up to 12 lakhs tax is tax free. Although capital gains will still be taxed at the LTCG and STCG rate, but still on an overall income basis, it is a 30% tax bracket investor जिनको टैक्स थोड़ा सा पिंच करता है. तो वी हैव कैलकुलेटेड फ्रॉम देयर पर्सपेक्टिव for 50 lakh principal and 6% annual withdrawal in FD and in mutual fund. अब कौन सा म्यूचुअल फंड कैटेगरी, वो इन्वेस्टर का डिसीजन है, वो यू नो बेटर. So on in FD, for 30% tax bracket investor, if you are investing 50 lakhs, 3 lakhs is the interest at 6%, and 30,000 will be the interest. Sorry, 90,000 will be the interest over 12 months. So on a 10-year period, we are paying 9 lakhs as tax. मतलब 30 लाख में से 9 लाख आपका टैक्स में चले गया एफडी में. ये कोई इन्वेस्टर ज्यादा कैलकुलेट नहीं करता है, ये हमको उनको हाईलाइट करना है. एंड ये यहाँ पे हम देख सकते हैं SWP फ्रॉम म्यूचुअल फंड्स में, क्योंकि इसमें फीफो मेथड होता है, फर्स्ट इन फर्स्ट आउट. तो आप इन्वेस्ट करते हैं, और यदि आप इमीडिएटली विड्रॉ करना चालू करते हैं, और एज वी ऑलवेज रिकमेंड यू होल्ड फॉर अ ईयर एंड देन यू स्टार्ट विड्रॉइंग. तो फीफो में क्या होता है, हमने 100 रुपया डाला है और हम विड्रॉ कर रहे हैं, कितना हमने अज्यूम किया, लेट्स से अज्यूम 6%, करेक्ट. तो इन अ 6% विड्रॉल, तो 100 रुपया का आप फर्स्ट ईयर आप सिर्फ 6 रुपया विड्रॉ कर रहे हैं. तो एज पर द फीफो मेथड, योर कैपिटल गेन विल बी वेरी वेरी लो. You can see in the first year it is hardly 40,000. So you are withdrawing almost 3 lakhs, but capital gains is almost 12-13% of that 3 lakhs. So tax is only 7,867. But this will keep going up because your investment will grow. So what is happening over here? Over a 10-year period, the total tax which we are paying is only 1.61 lakh at a LTCG of 12.5%. And vis-a-vis 9 lakhs. So कितना टैक्स बच रहा है हमारा? Almost 9 lakh taxes we are saving on a 5 lakh corpus. So we feel this is a beautiful selling point to most investors who are in the 30% tax bracket. You are getting a predictable cash flow. Your capital is growing, as we saw in the SWP. Capital has become 1.5x. Capital भी नीचे नहीं जा रहा है. FD में आपका capital भी stagnant रहेगा. जो 50 लाख है वो 50 लाख रहेगा. यहाँ पे आपका कैपिटल भी ग्रो हुआ है, हमने देखा था यहाँ पे. I'll go back to the slide if you want to have a look again. 1 करोड़ का आपका 1.7 करोड़ हो गया है, इसमें बैफ में आपका 1.5 करोड़ हो गया. वो 1.5 1.7x. एफडी में कैपिटल भी नहीं ग्रो हो रहा है, आपका रिटर्न भी बेटर है, आपका टैक्स भी बच रहा है. सो व्हाट एल्स कैन एन इन्वेस्टर आइडियली वांट, राइट? So I would like to wrap up my presentation over here. You can please start sharing your questions either in the chat box, or you can raise your queries. We can answer it verbally as well. हाँ Aditra ji, you can, yeah, please go ahead.
Yes, yes. Okay. So actually, yeah, I have got for two questions. The first
Yes
question
sir.
is about your the recent slide where you mentioned that for the BAF funds, I
Yeah,
mean ICICI Prudential and this, I mean Edelweiss, yeah. So
correct,
they
correct.
perform in a different strategy. So now my question is that if I want to learn this from my side, that I mean, yeah. So my point is that I mean, just because I mean you have mentioned here, I came to know. But what if
Yeah,
I want to find this information by myself from the Asset Plus platform? So is it possible to get that info? I mean, like yeah, sometimes the client can say na that okay, tell me, I mean, what is the difference between your Axis multicap and SBI multicap? So what should I do
correct.
in that scenario? Then how can
Absolutely
I
sir.
info? Yeah.
So, so absolutely, sir. So what we've done at Asset Plus, na, sir, some content, in fact, most of the content we release on the dashboard, right? And including this presentation is very much available on our dashboard. You can go to the knowledge section. This is, since this is a BAF slide, you have to type Balance Advantage Fund in the search box under knowledge section. You can download the entire, asset allocation. So, iske alawa, two more funds are there, sir. So it is a good 15-20 slide presentation. You can download that and you can speak to your partners about it. And regarding math, sir, that presentation, it is already on the works. It will be released sometime next week. So once that is done, it will be available on your dashboard, sir.
So that means I need to get this info from that, yeah, from your the PPT. So
Yes,
I mean,
yes,
yeah, the PDF.
you can
Yes.
get it, sir. क्योंकि ये जो
Yes.
information है सर, ये to answer your question, ये डेटा नहीं मिलता है सर इंडस्ट्री में. ये हमने एनालाइज किया है. तो हमने क्या किया ना सर.
हाँ, ये तो मुझे भी कहीं नहीं मिला है मतलब ना तो
हाँ, ये नहीं
मॉनिटर
मिलेगा
में,
सर.
हाँ हाँ ना
हाँ
तो
जी सर.
एडवाइस तक होते हैं. हाँ, सो दैट इज द रीजन मींस आई वाज मोस्ट इंटरेस्टेड.
हाँ जी सर.
हाँ, एक एक
हाँ, थैंक यू
हाँ.
सो मच सर. या,
और सेकंड
एनी
इज
अदर
दैट,
क्वेश्चन सर? सॉरी.
हाँ हाँ हाँ, सेकंड एक और क्वेश्चन है कि जैसे ही आपने ये आपका, हाँ, ये है कि मल्टी एसेट एलोकेशन वाला फंड्स में, तो मैं जैसे मैं ये तो मैं समझता हूँ कि मतलब जैसे आप देखिए कि डीएसपी या मतलब एसबीआई, इन लोगों ने दे
हाँ,
एलोकेट सम 10 to 20% इन द गोल्ड. पर मैंने देखा है
करेक्ट.
मतलब इन द रिसेंट डेज ये सैमको का जो फंड्स था, वो
हाँ.
हाँ, तो वो बता रहा है कि हम यूज करते हैं रोटेट टेक्नोलॉजी, दैट इज व्हाई हमारा गोल्ड लेवल कैन गो अप टू फॉर 80%. सो माय क्वेश्चन इज
करेक्ट.
मतलब क्या ये आई मीन टेक्निकली और थियोरिटिकली पॉसिबल है? और अगर है तो मतलब उनको तो मतलब ये गोल्ड फंड्स के हिसाब से बताना चाहिए. आई मीन हाँ, मेरा क्वेश्चन है कि मतलब ये 10 to 20, आई नो कि मतलब मोस्ट ऑफ द फंड हाउस यही करते हैं, पर मतलब कैन दे गो बियॉन्ड या सम 10 to 15% और 20%?
यस सर. तो वेयर वी सॉ बेसिकली, इसमें, वन सेकंड, आई टेक यू टू दैट स्लाइड सर.
हाँ. यस.
एक सेकंड सर.
हाँ हाँ हाँ,
हाँ,
अच्छा.
ये रेगुलेटरी लिमिट आप
हाँ
देखिए सर.
हाँ,
रेगुलेटरी
वो है
लिमिट
30%.
क्या बोलता है? मिनिमम 10%
परसेंट.
इन इक्विटी, डेट और एनी अदर एसेट क्लास. इट
राइट.
कैन बी गोल्ड, सिल्वर, रीट, इन्वेस्ट. सो एज पर द रेगुलेटरी लिमिट इट कैन बी 80-90%. मतलब 90% तो नहीं हो सकता क्योंकि 10-10 तो दो एसेट क्लास में होना ही चाहिए. तो मैक्सिमम 80 हो सकता है मतलब. लेकिन
हाँ.
लेकिन हाँ, है ना सर, गोइंग बाय द रेगुलेटरी लिमिट ऑफ सेबी. बट सर,
ओके.
मैं ये इशू क्या है ना सर, इसमें सैमको में क्या, सैमको में नहीं, फॉर एनी अदर स्ट्रेटेजी विच इज गोइंग ओवरबोर्ड ऑन गोल्ड. जैसे वी डिस्कस सर, से इफ यू, गोल्ड का डेटा आपको कहीं भी मिल जाएगा सर. वी कैन आल्सो, इफ यू वांट टू हैव अ लुक, लास्ट 20-30 इयर्स ऑफ हिस्ट्री. सो गोल्ड में जैसे मैंने बोला से 2000, आप देखिए मिड 2000s में, फिर अगेन मिड 2012 से 2016 में गोल्ड डिलीवर स्टैग्नेंट रिटर्न. तो यदि जो फंड मैनेजर का कॉल है गोल्ड के ऊपर, आपने 40-50-60-70 तक का गोल्ड ले लिया और वो कॉल नीचे चले गया, तो फिर आपका पूरा रिटर्न टूट जाएगा सर. तो
हम्म.
इनफैक्ट एचडीएफसी जो है, एचडीएफसी का जो मल्टी एसेट फंड का एक एलोकेशन है, उसका प्रेजेंटेशन यू कैन डाउनलोड फ्रॉम इंटरनेट, फ्रॉम एचडीएफसी म्यूचुअल फंड वेबसाइट. वी कैन
हाँ
ऑल्सो
हाँ
शेयर इट. तो
हाँ हाँ
उसमें उन्होंने क्या किया है, दे हैव डन अ बैक टेस्टेड एनालिसिस ऑफ गोल्ड इन द पोर्टफोलियो, कि 10% में क्या रिटर्न आता है, 20-30-40% में कितना रिटर्न आता है. सो आइडियल एसेट एलोकेशन इज बिटवीन 10 and 15%. दैट इज
हाँ.
वाई इंडस्ट्री में हर कोई 10-15% रखता है.
हम्म.
बट मेरे हिसाब से मैक्सिमम आप 20% तक जा सकते हैं. अगर
हम्म.
कोई ज्यादा से वाइट ओक जैसा है, तो वाइट ओक इज डूइंग 20-25% इन गोल्ड. एंड
हम्म.
आप यदि आप इसमें देखिए, मैं आपको रिटर्न दिखाता हूँ.
हाँ, अच्छा, ये हाँ यूटीआई का है. हाँ,
हाँ,
ओके.
यूटीआई, इसमें वाइट ओक का नहीं, मैं आपको दिखा दूंगा. तो इसमें लास्ट 1 ईयर में इट हैज आउट परफॉर्म मोस्ट अदर फंड्स, फॉर द सिंपल रीजन गोल्ड उसका थोड़ा सा ज्यादा है, और कुछ नहीं. तो लेकिन
हाँ, एक तो होना
25%
चाहिए।
से ज्यादा नहीं जाना चाहिए सर, मेरे हिसाब से, हमारे हिसाब से।
अच्छा, अच्छा, ओके। और मेरा जो
हाँ,
लास्ट सीरीज़ होगा मतलब हाँ, कंटिन्यूइंग विद मल्टी एसेट कि जैसे कि आप देखोगे आई मीन डीएसपी हैज़ गॉट सम एक्सपोज़र टू दिस आई मीन इंटरनेशनल इक्विटीज़। तो
करेक्ट।
अगर क्लाइंट अगर मुझे कहे कि न मतलब मुझे थोड़ा फिर आई मीन यूएस का स्टॉक्स में भी इन्वेस्ट करना है,
हाँ हाँ
हाँ,
हाँ,
क्या मैं मतलब इन दैट केस फॉर डीएसपी का मल्टी एसेट लूँ?
डेफिनेटली सर, डेफिनेटली सर। सर हमारा
अच्छा।
क्या है, हाँ, हमने तो बेसिकली, हमको कोई सम फंड्स रेकमेंड करने बेस्ड ऑन आवर पैरामीटर्स, तो हमको ये फंड्स आए हैं। तो
हुँ, हुँ।
अल्टीमेटली इट इज अबाउट एसेट एलोकेशन। तो आप
हाँ।
कोई भी अच्छा फंड, मेरा हमारा ये रिकमेंडेशन रहेगा कि टॉप 20 एएमसी में से आप कोई भी एएमसी का ले सकते हैं सर, आपके हिसाब से।
अच्छा, अच्छा, ओके,
तो
ओके,
डीएसपी
हाँ।
इज अ वेरी वेल नोन एएमसी,
हाँ,
इट इज अ
नहीं एक्चुअली
25 ईयर
मतलब
ओल्ड हिस्ट्री।
हाँ,
हाँ
मेरा ये क्लाइंट का यही क्वेश्चन था कि तो क्या मतलब अलग से मतलब एक्सक्लूसिवली एक एक यूएस वाला फंड्स लेंगे या मतलब थ्रू डीएसपी एलोकेशन के थ्रू मतलब जो भी मुझे मिल रहा है
सर,
हाँ,
यूएस एलोकेशन हम ले ही नहीं सकते ना सर। अभी इंडस्ट्री में सिर्फ केवल दो फंड है जो यूएस, क्योंकि मैंने बोला था ना सर, अभी जो लिमिट है $7 बिलियन का, वो हिट हो गया है सर। सो सेबी
प्रॉफिट
का लिमिट है। तो
हुँ,
वी आर नॉट एबल टू, मोस्ट ऑफ द स्कीम्स आर नॉट एबल टू इन्वेस्ट इन यूएस इक्विटी बिकॉज वो लिमिट हिट हो गया है सर। तो केवल
अच्छा,
दो फंड है, फ्रैंकलिन यूएस इंडिया अपॉर्चुनिटीज फंड जो एक्सेप्ट कर रहा है, उसके पास और 400 करोड़ की लिमिट है। दूसरा फंड है ईडलवाइस फंड ऑफ फंड, यूएस ऑफशोर
अच्छा,
फंड ऑफ फंड।
हाँ, हाँ, ओके, ओके, हाँ, हाँ,
ये
क्योंकि
दो फंड
आईपीओ में
खाली
तो
ले
बंद
रहे
कर
हैं सर।
दिया है, राइट, हाँ,
हाँ, ये दो फंड खाली ले रहे हैं सर। लेकिन
हाँ,
सर
हाँ,
हाँ, तो यूएस क्या है ना सर, अगर आप डेटा देखेंगे तो नीलेश सर आए थे हमारे प्रेजेंटेशन में लास्ट वीक, हमने उनसे ये सवाल पूछा था। वो क्या बोले, हर्ष भाई आप देखिए पिछले 10 साल में यूएस मार्केट हैज बेट ऑल अदर मार्केट्स इन द वर्ल्ड, है ना। तो ये हम सबको पता है कि मीन रिवर्जन होने वाला अभी नेक्स्ट फ्यू इयर्स में।
ओके,
तो आप अगर देखेंगे वॉरेन बुफे का भी ना सर, वॉरेन बुफे जो वर्ल्ड के सबसे पॉपुलर मोस्ट सक्सेसफुल इन्वेस्टर है, जो यूएस मार्केट के इन्वेस्टर है ना सर, तो
हाँ, हाँ,
उनका 2022 में कैश इन हिज पोर्टफोलियो ऑफ हिज $400 बिलियन पोर्टफोलियो, कैश वाज $30 बिलियन 2022।
हुँ, हुँ,
2020 में कैश वाज $170 बिलियन।
ओके,
2024 अभी 3 दिन पहले उनका डेटा बाहर आया है, एंड हिज कैश इज नाउ $337 बिलियन।
अच्छा,
और इक्विटी है, यूएस इक्विटी $275 बिलियन।
ओ
मतलब जो कैश है इट इज मोर देन यूएस इक्विटीज।
अच्छा, तो मतलब अब कैश में बैठा हुआ है।
हाँ, तो अब ये मेरा डेटा नहीं, ये वर्ल्ड के सबसे, यूएस के सबसे सक्सेसफुल इन्वेस्टर का डेटा है। तो हमारे अभी इन्वेस्टर्स क्या करते हैं वो देख, अच्छा यूएस ने पिछले 5 साल 10 साल में रिटर्न दिया तो हम आ जाएंगे। बुफे साहब क्या करते हैं, इन्होंने 5-10 साल में रिटर्न दिया है, तो अगले 5-10 साल मीन रिवर्जन होगा तो हम इंडिया इमर्जिंग मार्केट्स वहां पे जाएंगे, या फिर हम
अच्छा,
कैश में बैठेंगे। और
हाँ,
दूसरा रीजन वॉरेन बुफे साहब कैश में क्यों बैठे हैं, क्योंकि सर यूएस एक डेवलप्ड मार्केट है सर। यूएस में मोटा मोटी जो इंटरेस्ट रेट है 2020 में अगर आप जाएंगे, इंटरेस्ट रेट इन यूएस फॉर कैश विच इज बॉन्ड्स वाज 0%, 0.2%। अभी वहां पे 4-4.5% है। तो वो बोल रहे हैं, उनके हिसाब से उनको लग रहा होगा कि इक्विटी में 7-8% ज्यादा नहीं आ सकता, तो मैं 2-3% के लिए क्यों रिस्क लूं इक्विटी का।
ओके, राइट,
So that
वही।
is to answer your question about your
हाँ, हाँ,
US allocation, sir.
यस, यस, थैंक्स अ
Yeah,
लॉट,
thank you,
बाय।
sir. We have some more participants who raise your hand. I think, yeah, Vinay ji, you can please continue with your query, sir.
Archie, it's a nice
हाँ जी,
presentation.
thank you, sir.
Uh, have you're sharing that Nifty 50 and Nifty 500 comparisons for the year, right? Is it for the
Correct.
financial year or like it's in a calendar year, like it's January to December or
Which
like
return are you
April?
talking about? One second, sir. I'll show you this. Can you see my screen, sir?
Yes, yes, yes.
So, sir, this is not financial year or calendar year. This is point-to-point return. This is as per March 5th, 2025, which is yesterday. So
Hmm.
1 year return since last March to current March, sir.
Okay, it's a financial year. You mean to say?
नहीं नहीं, नॉट फाइनेंशियल ईयर सर, दिस इज पॉइंट टू पॉइंट। मतलब ला, ला, पिछले 5 मार्च 2024 से लेकर 5 मार्च 2025।
Oh, okay, okay, okay. You consider that.
हाँ, एम नहीं, तो सर मोस्टली व्हेन वी गो टू द इन्वेस्टर ना सर, वो यही देखता है कि लास्ट थ्री, सो रिटर्न एनालिसिस तो यही टाइम फ्रेम में होता है सर, 1, 3, 5, 10। बट योर पॉइंट इज वैलिड सर, कि जो टैक्स है वो तो हम फाइनेंशियल ईयर के बेसिस पे देते हैं, लेकिन हम यहाँ पे फाइनेंशियल ईयर का रिटर्न दिखाएंगे तो हम दिखा नहीं सकते ये 2025 तो बंद मतलब it is yet to get over ना sir. That's why
Correct.
the industry standard is 135 or 10 from the current time frame.
Okay, okay. Yeah, that's why. Like, if when we are comparing with the taxation, then we need to have that similar financial year comparisons. So that was in my
100%,
mind.
100% I'm aligned with you on that, sir. So in fact, if you look at the financial year also, the returns will be 70 to 75% same, but yes, 20 to 25, 30%, it will be slightly different, sir. I'm totally aligned with you on that, sir.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Because the reason behind this question is like we can communicate the same to our customers.
100%, sir. 100%. So what we can do, maybe we can also include, apart from the point-to-point return of 1, 3, 5, 10, we can also include fiscal year returns.
Yeah, that will be also like helps us.
100%, sir. Very valid point. We will do that, sir. So अभी इसमें क्या है? इसमें भी we have taken calendar
Yeah,
year for the
actually,
simple
my,
reason.
my my point came here itself. Actually, not that slide. Actually,
अच्छा ये वाला
this
सर
slide.
हाँ. So इसमें why we have taken fiscal calendar year, because 2024 fiscal year is not yet got over, so we can't predict the return. But ये this is full calendar year is full. But your point is very well taken,
Correct.
sir. We will include fiscal year also, sir, wherever
Yeah,
possible.
that helps. Like we can tell the
Sure, sir.
customers like, okay, this is the return for the fiscal year. This is return for the calendar year.
हाँ जी
Or
sir.
else we can say
Definitely,
like
sir.
this is from today's date to backdated 1 year.
Definitely, sir. Very point well
Yeah,
taken, sir.
this
Thank
helps.
you so much. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Arji.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Salil ji, you can please go ahead, sir.
Yes, Harsh sir. Sir,
Yeah.
great, fantastic insight on BAF
Thank
and
you so
MAF,
much, sir. Yeah.
and even on the counter and pro-cyclical aspects also.
Thank you, sir.
थोड़ा just the FIFO वाला part जो था ना taxation slide पे थोड़ा
हाँ
if you
जी.
can cover that part again, वो थोड़ा understand नहीं हुआ था कि मैं the difference FD
Sir,
and में
basically, I'll tell you, sir,
and
once.
yeah,
हाँ.
okay.
And what, sir?
And if I mean, currently, if for a medium horizon investor having a moderate risk profile,
Correct.
you have to, suggest them a BAF, MAF, and rest of the funds. What would be a typical approx, percentage in the portfolio? What should be the recommended in the current market scenario? That was my
In the
second.
current scenario, sure,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay.
So first, we'll go to the 1 second, the SWP presentation. Second, sir. Yeah. So,
Yes.
sir, इसमें क्या होता है, sir? Basically, so here, this is a illustrator, basically. These are not real returns, correct? So we have used an asset bus calculator to assume a rate of return at 6%. And what we have done every year, if the funds are growing at 6%, right? How much will be your capital gains, assuming it is a linear growth, right? So now what we can do, we can also do a simulation for past performance, right? But past performance may or may not be repeated. So let's come to the point which you were raising. What is FIFO? FIFO का full form है first in first out. इसका मतलब क्या है सर? यदि हमने 100 रुपीज इन्वेस्ट किए एक फंड में, है ना सर? अभी हमने 100 रुपीज इन्वेस्ट किए and we are withdrawing 6% of that every year. So when we withdraw 6%, so for our understanding purpose, let's assume 100 units हमको मिला है अलॉटमेंट में, ठीक है सर? और हम 6 यूनिट्स एवरी ईयर विड्रॉ कर रहे हैं, तो केवल 6 यूनिट्स में जो प्रॉफिट आया है उसी में टैक्स लगेगा.
Yes.
That is the logic, sir. So
Achha.
that is why if you see 7, 8, 6, 7 for the first year the tax is least. फिर as we keep withdrawing, क्योंकि क्या है sir, we all know the profit will keep on growing. In 5th year profit will be much higher than the first or second year, going by growth. So that is the reason when we withdraw the first 6 units, the tax will be low, and when we withdraw the remaining units, tax will keep going higher. So very simple, sir.
Okay, I understood.
कोई logic है sir इसका. And
Thanks.
for the second question, sir, I will recommend, sir, हमारे partner dashboard में हमारा एक portfolio strategy का एक presentation है. I'll share you the link also. उसमें क्या है, for different time frames, we have mentioned what should be the portfolio allocation across hybrids and across lump sum. So for the, I would request you to have a look at that. But
Sure.
I can give you my recommendation for now. See, right now, what we are seeing is that we can consider MAF and BAF both. So I would recommend, if the investor is okay to hold for 4 to 5 years, then you can go for MAF itself, for the simple reason that it has more diversification. and that is why the return possibility is slightly more than BAF. Yadi investor is looking for a 2-3 year horizon, then you can go for a BAF, sir.
Okay, understood. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thanks a lot. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I think we have some questions. Can we have a Naveenji has asked, can we have a similar presentation of variety of debt funds as the following slab taxation? Sure, Naveenji, we'll work on that. And Praveenji has asked, what is the strategy adopted in equity savings? Sir, Praveenji, equity savings में strategy में जैसे मैंने बोला उसमें काफी static allocation होता है सर. तो उसमें strategy ऐसा कुछ ज्यादा है नहीं BAF या MAF के जैसे. उसमें static allocation होता है. That itself is the strategy. So they have mostly 1/3 in all the segments, which is net equity 1/3, 35-40%, arbitrage will be 30%, debt will be 35%. So that is the strategy of most of the equity savings funds in the industry as we speak, sir. Sir, Raindrop Financial Services, you have a query that, sir, Franklin US India opportunity, मैं यहाँ पे डाल देता हूँ sir, एक second. Franklin US India Opportunities Fund. This is the name, sir. And for Edelweiss, all their funds are accepting, sir. Edelweiss US fund, they have two funds actually. You can refer to that. So both are accepting money as of now. Pratik ji, the HDFC gold return study which I was referring to. So what they did now, sir, they did a portfolio simulation. If you invest 10% in gold, remaining in equity debt, and if you invest 20%, 15% in gold and remaining equity debt, like that, they did for 10, 20, 30, 40%. And based on their analysis, what they found out that the sweet spot for gold allocation is 10 to 15%. And this is available in the HDFC MAF presentation. We can download it from the net. If you need it, we can also email it to you, sir. अविनाश जी का क्वेश्चन है सर, पराग पारेख भी यूएस में इन्वेस्ट करता है. सर, यू आर राइट. सो पराग पारेख मल्टी एसेट आल्सो माइट बी इन्वेस्टिंग इन यूएस फंड्स, बट अभी क्या है, Parag Parikh has very few schemes. So out of the overall portfolio of MAF, maybe some portion, very limited portion, they might be investing. But I'll have to check on that, sir, whether they are doing it now or not. Because as of my last update, we got the update that they also have exhausted that limit. Thank you so much, Avinash ji. We'll share the PPT to you, right, sir? We'll share it to you, sir. Thank you so much, Rajan ji. We'll share the PPT. Salil ji, FIFO is explained. Rajan ji का question है, can you please explain counter cyclical and cyclical? अच्छा, आप समझ गए. Okay, sir. Pratik ji का question है, which parameter to see when how much volatility is there in NAV? Sir, volatility का एक simple है sir, standard deviation. तो हम standard deviation देख सकते हैं parameter. That will tell you how much of volatility is there in any mutual funds NAV, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. अजय जी, टैक्स सेविंग मैं एक सेकंड आपको दिखा देता हूं सर हिंदी में. इसमें सर देखिए, आप 50 लाख हमने इन्वेस्ट किया एफडी में, और क्योंकि 30% का टैक्स ब्रैकेट है HNI इन्वेस्टर का, तो आपका 6% आप जब भी आपको इंटरेस्ट ब्याज आ रहा है, तो 3 लाख के ब्याज में आपका 90,000 आपका टैक्स आपको भरना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि 30% टैक्स ब्रैकेट है ना सर. तो 3 लाख में 30% इज 90,000, तो आपको 90,000 एक साल का टैक्स भरना पड़ेगा, 10 साल का 9 लाख. और म्यूचुअल फंड में आप यदि देखते हैं तो आपका फीफो मेथड होता है, जो हमने अभी समझा है. इसमें आपका 30 लाख में से केवल 1.5 लाख मोटा मोटी टैक्स जाएगा. दिस इज एन अप्रोक्सीमेट कैलकुलेशन. इट कैन बी स्लाइटली मोर और लेस ऑल्सो डिपेंडिंग अपॉन द एक्चुअल रिटर्न. हमने इसमें रिटर्न अज्यूम किया है सिर्फ 10% का, तो इसलिए हमारा इतना है. यदि रिटर्न थोड़ा ज्यादा तो टैक्स थोड़ा ज्यादा होगा, बट यू विल डेफिनेटली, आपका हमारा जो टैक्स का डिफरेंस है सर, वो आराम से आपका 6 से 7 लाख का डिफरेंस आपका होगा ही होगा सर. Thank you so much, Pratik ji, for sharing the math presentation. Thank you so much, Vasudev ji. I think we've taken all the questions. We'll see you next time in another presentation. Thank you.